But I really want you to ask yourself, did I fail you as a creator? Or did y'all fail me as followers?
Let's talk about creepy guys, shall we?
No
Welcome to war mode.
Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Tell me how I should be.
I don't know.
I don't care about nothing, okay? You're all I need in life.
It's all in yes. It's all in.
Get off of me!
Hey, just easing the tension, baby.
I can't help it! I'm a good-looking motherfucker.
Do you feel like you're sitting across the table from your husband?
No.
Yeah, me either.
Hey, everybody. I'm Whitney Webb. I'm an investigative journalist.
Ain't no turning back now. They gonna respect us. They don't hate us. I like you, girl. I like you more than life, nigga. That's realer than death, you hear me?
Send me an angel. Send me an angel. Right now. Right now. Send me an angel.
All right, thank you, Whitney Webb, for coming on. Also, a huge thanks to Marty Bent for making this happen.
Yeah, no problem.
Was there just a fire down there?
Yeah, there still is, I think. Well, like every summer in Chile lately, past several years, there's been a lot of fires in summer because it's, southern hemisphere, so it's summer here now. And the current fires are like north of me. I mean, they're near they're in Valparaiso, which is by Santiago, the capital, which is like the middle part of Chile. Chile's like a really long, skinny country, and like the middle bit is where most of the people live. And so it's like a really crowded area, coastal area.
Yeah, we just realized it's not under
decimated right
California.
now.
It like blew our mind that Chile's way past us.
In front of us in the time zones.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's weird because it's like a Pacific coast country, but yeah, it's like 2 hours ahead of Eastern time right now. It's all very weird. It's because Chile and the US both have their own daylight savings time. So it's like super odd.
I think the president just got killed in a plane crash or something, right?
Former president. Yes. I never have liked him at all. He was president of Chile during COVID. And responsible for all the insane lockdowns and vaccine mandates here, which led Chile to have like the highest uptake of the vaccine, one of the highest vaccine uptakes in the world, and then definitely the highest vaccine uptake for kids as young as 2.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that guy. And his whole political career has been about like selling Chileans out to like foreign corporations.
Yeah.
And he's like one of the main oligarchs of Chile also, or was, I guess. Like he owns this thing called Red Compra, which is like how debit cards function. It's like credit card and debit card processing. One of the biggest supermarkets, one of the biggest airlines, one of the biggest department stores. I mean,
he's industrious.
South America's weird, dude.
Industrious. Yeah. Also like a corrupt piece of shit. But, I mean, I sort of see him as like a Chilean George W. Bush.
Right.
He's like very much in that same vein. Also with like the Bushisms, where like he just says like dumb shit. Piñera was also known for that. And for like trying to like, just walking normally and randomly like falling down, kind of like Joe Biden, but like not as senile,
Right. Yeah, he's getting pretty rough right now.
Yeah, Biden's
the
bad
videos
right
are like kind of confusing as to how it's crazy because that dude like. I don't know if it's like an act or something because like we went into like the Hunter Biden laptop and stuff and like the amount of shit that guy has going on as far as like kickbacks and like oil companies and stuff. It's like amazing.
It's wild.
Like is that?
Yeah, it's wild and none of it happens. It's been like kind of like normalized, like, oh, nothing to see here. Just like Joe Biden's like weird senile, like I don't even know what to call them anymore. I mean, people call them gaffes, but they're not really gaffes. It's just like, Alzheimer's grandpa escaped from the place where we try and keep him locked up,
Yeah.
Well, Hunter ended up hiring Louis Freeh, the dude he was like a judge.
The former FBI director under Clinton who
is that to do with the eye?
Hangs out with Alan Dershowitz and stuff.
That's why I don't think they care if Biden looks like all like retarded and stuff because In real
don't.
life, like I don't think Iran Contra ever stopped. Like they've just found Kiev weapons in Mexico.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, totally. Well, I mean, Iran Contra was just like a phase of what has been like a decades long arms and drug trafficking thing involving, US and Israeli and some other intelligence agencies. Right. So that's always gone on. And it's also like a big thing for money laundering. I mean, like Afghanistan was like a huge, if you look at it as like one long event, not like all these separate, disparate scandals, Afghanistan and Iran Contra are kind of like similar in that vein.
Yeah, like it never ends. Right?
Yeah, absolutely not, because it's like the biggest grift. I mean, well, it's like rackets, right? So if you're like me and you view these guys as basically an extension of like organized crime from like the 20s and 30s, how did like the mafia then work? They had like rackets, right? And the purpose of the racket is to expand the racket and like keep it going for as long as possible. And all of these interests sort of come together with arms trafficking, with arms and drug trafficking, and in order to enable that activity and make it profitable, you have to launder vast amounts of money.
Yeah,
so
I was
those
showing,
things always go together.
I was showing Bill the there's a BBC thing on Maxwell called House of Maxwell, and it's like he had an arms racket. He had like all this shit, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
They don't. BBC is just like, oh, dude, he's a media guy. Here's his kids, but they don't show like it's insane the level. Like in Whitney's book, she goes into like how there's people from the Maxwell family that were like in the Hillary Clinton State Department.
What?
It's like Ghislaine's sister's kid. It's nuts, dude.
Christine, no, it's Isabel Maxwell's son. So Ghislaine's nephew was running the Middle East desk at the State Department under Hillary. Mm-hmm.
I just
That's
like
wild.
When I'm watching that, is that kind of like the Epstein thing on Netflix, like Filthy Rich? Like, is it that much of a limited hangout that has some Maxwell? Because I don't understand. Like, all of these dudes come from Skittles somehow, and then immediately it's like, oh, I bought the mirror. It's like, how the fuck do you go from being in like a little tiny hut to owning the mirror and literally recording fucking everyone?
Yeah, you join the mafia. That's pretty much what happens.
You know what's nuts?
Yeah.
Like that. It's in your book. I mean, sorry to spurring about your book, but I just read it. It took me like a month.
It was an incredible feat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not short, so.
But
No worries.
so like everybody talks about like Epstein, and then like his house in New York. They'll show pictures of this.
Yeah,
dude, he was renting a house from the State Department back when like Clinton was president. For 15 G's a month.
George Bush Sr. was president.
Oh, sorry,
is when
Bush
it
Sr.
started.
Bush Sr. was
Yeah,
president.
but it was through Clinton. Yeah, totally.
It was 15 grand a month, and it was on 69th Street in New York.
Dude, what the
like dude, for
It
years
used to
he
be
was
the
renting
home
this.
of the consulate for Iran.
Yeah,
and they gave it to Epstein at the same time Epstein was starting the sex blackmail stuff.
Yeah, so they're like,
The State
oh, look at where
Department's like,
who's
"Here,
it?
take
This is
house."
way before VH1 was like, check this dude out.
Yeah, that was a weird thing VH1 did. I just like, does anyone know like what, like he was just working at the Dalton school and then slowly started blackmailing people, or like how did that dude come online?
Yeah, he got into banking. That's how it started.
He's so smart.
But like I could get into banking and like I would just work at TD probably for the rest of my life.
Dude, you know what's weird?
Yeah,
is
but the thing is, oh, sorry. Mhm.
You're good.
They do this like Great Gatsby thing with him where they're like, he can play piano. He's this like super genius, but he never even graduated school, bro.
Yeah.
He never graduated from college, and he was like enmeshed with these this network that was responsible for his rise, right? Since like the early 70s. It seems to have happened sort of in this, like around 1971, he went backpacking in Europe and then is hanging out with like, really fancy people over there.
Yeah.
In London, being like this college dropout that just went to backpack in Europe. So,
So
obviously
cool.
something weird was going on.
Like so cool, dude.
Yeah, and then he's hanging out at Jimmy Goldsmith's house, who's one of these sort of like corporate raider tycoon style guys, sort of in the same vein as Maxwell, definitely in the same like social milieu as Maxwell. They were members of this thing called the Claremont Club, which is
Dude,
it's in some BBC Adam Curtis documentary. Forget which one. but just talking about how these like corporate raiders just picked off and consolidated control over like big parts of the economy in Britain. And Maxwell's one of them, and this Goldsmith guy's one, and Epstein's just there like playing piano in like 1973 or something like that.
Yeah, and there's
Hanging
like
out with all these wealthy people. And Jamie Goldsmith is like a cousin of the Rothschilds. He's like very connected to the royal family and stuff. And so like, how did he get there? How was Epstein hanging out with this fancy violinist who was like sponsored by the Queen and stuff? And this is all like in the early 70s. So like even before the Dalton School happens, like weird stuff is kind of going on. But the way he makes the transition into banking from the Dalton School has to do with Ace Greenberg, who used to be the guy that ran Bear Stearns, or like ran it for a really long time. And Epstein sort of started working under him before Ace Greenberg was in charge of it, because allegedly it's because Epstein was tutoring his kids and was like, oh, he's so brilliant, I'm going to give him a job. And then like a year or two after he brings Epstein to Bear Stearns, Ace Greenberg becomes head of the whole thing. And then Epstein sort of like has this rapid ascendancy within the bank, and basically starts managing, I don't want to say tax fraud, but that's probably what it is, like tax fraud schemes for the richest company or richest clients of Bear Stearns, which includes like the Bronfman family and stuff. And actually one of the reasons that Epstein had to leave is because he was sort of embroiled in this insider trading accusation that involved Seagram's, the Bronfman family company. And pretty much everyone that was charged with that never actually like was prosecuted. They like either fled the US or were never actually arrested. And Epstein just left the bank and then, you know, became this international financial consultant that was doing all this weird, spooky stuff, and started getting multiple passports, applying for multiple passports, traveling all over the world, allegedly being involved in weapon stuff that wasn't necessarily part of Iran-Contra, but like sort of parallel to it. Allegedly, it was selling weapons to the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. So, you know, Iran-Contra involves mainly like arms trafficking involving Iran, despite the embargo of the Reagan administration against it. And then also it had like a Latin American theater in terms of like the drug trafficking aspect of it. But there was also weapons trafficking and stuff. I mean, it was basically an effort to prop up different paramilitary groups and then, you know, bargain with Iran over several different things, and is wrapped up in things like the October Surprise and all this other intrigue
yeah,
stuff.
the October Surprise hurts. They paid $40 million to keep the hostages, to tell Iran, like, don't let the Americans go until it's time for the election.
For optics.
Well, to get rid of Carter.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
To get Reagan in. And Reagan, dude, it's wild. You'd love this shit. Reagan's connected to, like, it's weird. Like, Whitney, like, in your book, like, if I start talking to people, they'll be like, not everything is a conspiracy. Because they think, like, it's a crazy, like, here's a room where people are, like, conspiring and stuff. But really, this is just people that are related to each other and people that work together. And that's all it is.
It's business.
Yeah, it's just
not
business
necessarily
stuff.
legal business, but they don't let laws get in the way of business. You know what I mean?
Like Reagan, when Reagan was a youngster and he was an actor, he got wrapped up in the mob, and this dude Lou Wasserman, and he runs MCA. Mm-hmm. So MCA Records, like all that shit, right?
Yeah.
These guys were
which
pulling.
becomes Universal Studios. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He pulls strings, like he's like a kingmaker. He makes the president.
Jesus.
Yo, Clinton, Carter, Bush, or Clinton, Carter, and Reagan for sure. The Bushes might have been kind of goaded in.
Yeah, and then like we were talking yesterday about like how like they just got like blocked the Ukraine, or the money to Israel just got blocked. Is that like, how do they let that happen if like they're running the show? Like, why can't they just send all the
tell
money?
you, they'll get their money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to pass Israel aid under different metrics. Like a lot of the stuff, the reason like the Senate stuff was like separated from the border stuff was because of complaints from the House. But I'm pretty sure the Speaker of the House was like very clear that they were happy to fund Israel. And this was something that got like tripped up in the Senate, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, maybe it's over amount, maybe it's over optics. I mean, it's an election year and you have a lot of people worried about money, worried about foreign aid, and like the money not being used for domestic stuff. And so I think that was part of the optics issue, like with the border specifically, is like, oh, if we're actually going to get money like freed up to be used for something domestic, we have to send like even more money abroad, you know? And so I think, you know, I mean, potentially it's an optics thing too, of being like, oh, well, we'll reject foreign aid, but they'll bundle it a different way and send it off.
Yo,
I mean, Israel for the past like several decades has gotten
Yeah, so much
billions of
money.
dollars a year in aid. And they've been called out by like US intelligence and the US military on multiple occasions for like using a lot of that military aid they get by like sending weapons tech, like sensitive weapons tech and other things like that to US adversary states, mainly
Chinese.
China, And you have all these Republicans that are like huge Israel simps, but they're also huge China hawks, and they like don't talk about that at all.
Yeah.
It's very weird,
There's so much they don't talk about, where especially with the Maxwell thing, like they love like the salacious Epstein Ghislaine thing going on. But if you look into his dad, like the stuff in your book, like I was alive for it, but I was young. This shit with John Tower being connected,
nuts.
This is nuts. Like how this isn't a story. That's up there like with Epstein renting a house from the State Department. This dude, John Maxwell, comes to America, somehow gets like newspapers or whatever, but he hooks up with some PR guys and this Senator John Tower, and he sells out, like, Whitney, do you remember, like, he sells out like nuclear secrets or something to Los Alamos or something?
Yeah, basically what happened is that John Tower was like a longtime head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and he was leaving that post. And so he was looking for like new post Senate lucrative opportunities. And Henry Kissinger was communicating this to Robert Maxwell.
R.I.P.
And Robert Maxwell sort of used Kissinger as an intermediary to basically offer a job to John Tower, but it was Mossad money. So John Tower was put on the Mossad payroll and was working for some of these Maxwell-linked companies because Maxwell was trying to market this thing called the Promise software, which had been
That's scary shit.
We don't like talking about Promise. It's scary.
Once we learned about Promise, he was like explaining it to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's the stuff." We should probably stop talking about
the Danny
Well,
Casolaro thing is so scary.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. So Israel and also the CIA basically had like a global coup because of Promise, but mainly, I guess you could say it was mainly Israel in the sense that Israel backdoored Promise first and then sold it to intelligence agencies and security agencies around the world, and so had a real-time backdoor into everything those intelligence and security agencies were doing. So they had like all this foreknowledge of like all these spy secrets and like military moves and all this stuff. And it wasn't just for like the West, it was also for like the Soviet Union and in places like that weren't necessarily part of the West, but the West was also targeted. And in order to access US nuclear secrets, they used John Tower to basically open the door to Los Alamos, and I think Sandia National Laboratory was the other one. And they installed Promise, and then Israel took all the nuclear secrets.
Yeah, there's so what I understand is they had Jonathan Pollard, right? That dude. Remember I was telling you about the dude Rafi Atan, and he thinks U.S. is like enemy soil.
Right.
They had Jonathan Pollard. Then they had another one. Oh, Vince Foster. He was selling shit. He was selling nuclear shit.
Right.
So Vince Foster, Pollard, and the John Tower one I never heard of before. But I mean, that's three on record.
That's part of the Maxwell thing. Maxwell and Tower go together, and they were all both killed the same year, 1991, which is also when Casolaro dies, and when one of Casolaro's sources died. And 1991 was a big cover up here because they also pardoned all the Iran-Contra criminals. They covered up the collapse of BCCI.
Yeah, this is Bush,
and all
right?
This interrelated stuff. Mm-hmm.
It's nuts,
Big
dude.
cover up here. William Barr oversaw that. He was Trump's attorney general more recently, but he was attorney general the first time under Bush Sr. when all of this stuff was covered up. He's like a career CIA mop-up man, William Barr.
Yeah.
So, like, when they steal the nuclear secrets, like, how does that just like kind of go away? And like, because I feel like I hear it get brought up to like pundits and stuff, and they're just like, that's not real. Or they're like,
because Israel's never admitted they have nuclear weapons, but everyone knows they do.
You know the
ultimate liars?
I think you say it Coburn, but it's spelled Cockburn. Like the British family of journalists, like they wrote the Dangerous Liaisons book. Like, what do you think about those guys? Are they like limited hangout or what?
Like Alexander Cockburn?
Yeah, Alexander and Andrew and Leslie, I think.
I mean, I'm not as familiar with their work now as maybe I was a few years ago. But I feel like they're from what I recall, I feel like at least Alexander Cockburn's sort of one of those Chomsky guys where like he's right about some stuff and you're like, he has other viewpoints where you're like, how do you reach those conclusions, you know?
Yeah.
But I can't remember that much specific stuff because I don't really, I don't know. It's been a while since I've like read other people's like stuff, you know, because I like have done a lot of like writing of my stuff lately, like this monstrous book we're talking about.
Are you writing another book?
I'm writing, well, I'm going to start writing another book. Well, it's sort of a little bit started. Yeah, but it's on some other stuff that is probably going to be folded into a lot of the things I wanted to cover in volume 2 specifically, but kind of ran out of time to cover, which has a lot more to do with like Epstein and banking and financial crimes and stuff like that. I mean, I allude to some of it, like talking about Epstein and BCCI and money laundering, sort of his early forays with banks. But as far as Epstein goes in volume 2, I kind of stopped like maybe around like the early 2000s. And so I didn't really get into like financial crash stuff or some of the stuff with like Epstein and JP Morgan and Epstein and Deutsche Bank, because all of that comes after, you know. And I think it's going to end up involving some of that. But the book originally was planned to be about this Bahamian bank, Deltec, that's part of the FTX scandal, one of the main, you know, banks for Tether, the stable coin.
Yeah, I don't know much about finances.
Yeah, I think one of those, the JP Morgan ship that had a bunch of cocaine on it was seized outside of Philly, and there was like tons of cops at the port and shit. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, they get away with literally anything, you know? I mean, they can steal a bunch of people's money and they're like, well, you know, I mean, it's like that South Park episode where they just go, and it's gone, you know, and like nothing happens, you know? I mean, that's basically like the big five banks in the US operate like that. They're like completely unaccountable to anybody.
And that shit's like super disheartening. Like once you start looking into this stuff, it's like, yeah, they stole nuclear secrets and then just denied it. Like everything, like it kind of like flattens your tires a little bit.
Well, a little bit, but also it's important to understand why. And I guess I would say that the reason why is because, and I try and show this like in the book, specifically volume 1, when you understand like where these different actors come from, what they share is like the same overarching like organized crime club. Like
yeah, it's kind of like a family Bible of the mob. You know, like when you open up and you see like a family tree.
Yeah.
It's like from Meyer Lansky and then it takes you all the way to Epstein.
Jesus Christ.
It's cool, man. Like she was talking about the Claremont Club and then, dude, they get into like, they had their own rackets of like sexual blackmail. There's all this like weird shit you never even heard of. There's one called Page Boy, which I thought was hilarious. Dude, and they get like high school kids to go work for them. It's out in the open.
Yeah, Congressional Page. That's why it's called the Page Boy scandal. Because like they got all these well, they were basically like, yeah, diddling high schoolers.
Like, dude, like West, like Ohio resident Les Wexner.
Yeah.
He had a mentor, Max Fisher. That dude was friends with Mitt Romney's dad. Mitt Romney's dad was the governor of Michigan. Epstein chilled in Michigan when he was little at an art camp.
Yeah.
It's crazy shit. If you like make a map in your head, it's wild.
That like when I watched that the House of Maxwell thing, like what is the deal? Like he stole a bunch of money, but is that why he got killed? Because he took out all those loans, or like I'm like an idiot. So I have no idea.
I think he got killed for promise, probably.
There's like all sorts of different theories about why. So like some of the main books on Robert Maxwell, like Robert Maxwell, Israeli super spy, for example, that argues that it was because he had sort of run out of capital to keep his business empire afloat because he'd expanded more than he could afford to expand. Right. And so he started having like some capital problems. And so he made threats to Mossad mainly that he, unless he like got more money from them, he was going to like spill shit. And that's allegedly why he was killed. And even Ghislaine Maxwell has said that he was killed by Mossad renegades. So that's what she thinks.
You know what's weird is like you can talk to these people. Like, did you talk to Ben Menashe? Ari Ben Menashe?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I interviewed him probably like 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
The other book. There's this guy. Other book I'm reading. I can't remember what it's called, but the guy's name is Gordon Thomas. But he interviews like old Mossad dudes. They'll talk.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Gordon Thomas had like a very long conversation with Rafi Eitan, who's the guy that was like
Yeah.
handling Robert Maxwell and Promise, handling Jonathan Pollard. I mean, really running all of this shit.
Dude, he
in
just
the
strolled
80s
in.
and 90s, and it was all targeting America. And the
Rafi
guy that
Eitan.
was in charge of
Rafi Eitan just put on a disguise and strolled in and stole Promise software. Allegedly. That's what the Gordon Thomas dude says.
yeah.
Like a glasses
Well, there's
and mustache.
multiple
Yeah.
sources attesting to that, like including the guy that created Promise, Bill Hamilton, like met Rafi Eitan in disguise and then was like, "Oh yeah, that was him."
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
in disguise,
And then Rafi
like-
Eitan admits it later. To
It's
Gordon
hilarious.
Thomas,
Sounds like a
"Yes, that
YouTube
was
prank.
me."
Yeah, that's what it's like.
And then was Promise the stuff that like they could just go into all your, it was like the first thing that like crunched all your data together and they could just take like all of your emails en masse? Or are they just like
it's
chilling on your
basically the
stuff?
early version of what Palantir is today.
Oh man, Palantir's another freaky one.
Yeah, they're bizarre.
Yeah, well, it's a direct line from Promise to Palantir. It's
Yeah,
the
so
same
they
people.
had this other thing that they wanted to start called the TIA. Literally just wanted to fucking, I don't even know. Can you explain it to Bill?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So after 9/11,
Thank you.
they tried to create this program called Total Information Awareness that was a public-private partnership housed within DARPA, which is the Pentagon's research arm. And the guy they tried to put in charge of it was John Poindexter, who's one of these guys from Iran-Contra, probably the highest-ranking guy prosecuted for Iran-Contra, but then he's pardoned by Bill Barr and whatever. And he's considered to be the godfather of modern surveillance. And Poindexter was going to run this program TIA where basically they were going to data mine and like suck up everyone's data and then, analyze it and look for patterns and whatever. And so it was basically always intended to have this pre-crime functionality, but they also had like sub programs, like one called biosurveillance that were about like detecting pandemics before they happen and all of this stuff. And a lot of that same technology that was proposed under TIA was actually implemented
year is
during
this?
COVID by HHS.
Dude, they started
oddly
this
enough.
way back.
What year is this?
So TIA was being fielded probably around 2002, 2003, and then it was defunded by Congress not that long after it launched because there was a lot of pushback because it was accurately described as the end of privacy and would just like completely eliminate the Fourth Amendment. So it was defunded on those grounds. But then they decide that they can get around it by launching TIA as a completely private enterprise as opposed to like if they take the military out of it, people won't complain.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what they do.
Dude, I just got
So Peter
fucked by
Thiel,
this.
Yep.
after he makes finishes with PayPal,
The
teams
PayPal
up with this guy
mafia.
he knows from it's very real. Teals up with this guy he knows from college named Alex Karp from Stanford. Pretty spooky school overall. And these guys go and meet with Poindexter. They're openly trying to recreate total information awareness. And they started creating Palantir as TIA was coming under a lot of pressure. So when TIA first came under pressure, they changed their name from Total Information Awareness to Terrorist Information Awareness. Trying to be
Exactly.
like, oh, we're just hunting for
Yep.
terrorists, even though they like obviously were like, we want it all, you
Yeah.
know? And like literally the logo of TIA of the program was like an all-seeing eye pyramid, like
Yeah.
beaming out of the eye, the
I
whole
mean,
planet. Like
Palantir.
we're watching the whole planet. I mean,
Bill
and
just
the
saw
name is
Lord of the
Total
Rings.
Information.
Yeah, I just watched all 3 Lord of the Rings extended editions. Not that it's a big deal. But
Yeah, but it's like Eye of Sauron stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
why
the Seeing
Palantir's
Stones.
Palantir too. You know what I mean? Like it's literally that.
They're
And
such
Palantir
nerds
is-
with this shit too. Like fucking
Oh,
Bill
totally.
Barr. I don't know if it's for real. Like, what's this thing with Bill Barr? He has like a code name, and his code name's Robert Johnson, and he's telling Bill.
in
Cl-
Iran-Contra.
Yeah, he's telling Bill Clinton. Like Bill Clinton's like the young guy they're grooming for like fucking be big head honcho guy, mean Arkansas, and he just goes, "We are the new covenant. We're the new government."
Dude.
Like it's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
those those dudes piss me the fuck off. Whenever we start talking about this, I get so annoyed by them because like
Well,
they just steal stuff from movies and like it's the same stuff with Elon Musk. Like the dude just pretends like everything he does is just from fucking sci-fi movies and books. But like they have like legit
Dude,
effects on everyone.
Tim Dillon was just talking to Theo Vaughn, and he was like joking around about like in the future you're gonna have, it's gonna be so dystopian, like you'll have a hospital in your house. But in the book, like Whitney writes about this chick Melanie Walker, which will blow your fucking mind. This chick was she was like one of Ghislaine's henchmen, And then she's a World Economic Forum chick. She's a neuroscientist. She fucked Prince Andrew for a couple days. Dude, it's wild.
She's married to a top Microsoft guy. He's now at Andreessen Horowitz, I believe.
And that dude was on
she
Rogan.
was Bill Gates' main science advisor after she was Epstein's science advisor. She's like obsessed with transhumanism.
And she says you're going to have a
creepy
hospital
stuff.
in your house by 2030. This is like part of the thing. Like, it's called a homespital.
They come up with good names. Yeah, all like that weird data collection, they just got me with the IRS. Like I logged on and I had to get like some sort of form and it was ID me and I was like, all right, like obviously scan my face because the iPhone has got me so used to scanning my face. And then he did it and was like, dude, that's optional. That's just a different company.
Yeah, it's just an Israeli company.
It's an Israeli company that scans your whole face and gets your biometrics. And they're like, oh, you can use it for everything. And there's not one practical use to it.
Yeah. Well, there will be.
Killing
you know,
me.
I mean, you know how WorldCoin works, right? You like scan your eyeball and then you get shit coins and a cattle tag.
I'm good on that.
Like a digital ID or whatever. And then you get like useless tokens. Yeah. So basically, the way the UN is setting up all their refugee assistance is that same shit. And they were doing it like well before WorldCoin even launched. So like basically, you know, for like Syrian refugees in Jordan, for Ukrainian refugees and stuff, or displaced people. If the World Food Program is there, the way those refugees and like vulnerable people get their rations is they have to scan their eyeball.
It's so fucked up.
And then they have set up like supermarket style places where people can pick out their rations and feel, you know, like they're buying food. But you go to checkout and you scan your eyeball. And then whatever you have bought, the value of it is deducted from your wallet that's tied to your biometric digital ID. And yeah, and they say it's because people were defrauding the system, but there's no evidence of that. So what it's really about is this whole, you know, digital ID thing they've been fleshing out for a long time that more people became aware of during COVID. And the goal, as practiced by the World Food Program and also by like ID 2020, and they mainly have tested it on refugees thus far. It's also supposed to be a repository for all your health data, all your education credentials, career credentials, like your resume, you know, all of this stuff stored in one place. And I think, I mean, actually, they're pretty open about, you know, that they plan to make it necessary for more services, like your access to government services, your access to your, to telecommunications, you know, like your cell phone provider or whatever, your internet service provider, all of that, your social media accounts. So, you know, obviously the possibility that arises then is like, okay, what if you post something wrong on social media and they like, you know, deduct from your ration wallet?
Yeah, I mean, we're
whatever.
fried.
Yeah, that I would be fucked. I would have $0.
Yeah, so it's obviously not a good system, but they tested on refugees first, and it's basically like what they intend to do. So like all this collecting of biometric data, you know, people are like, oh shit, I just gave that away. Well, it doesn't really matter if you give it away or not, because I mean, they have it. So like Facebook, for example, your Facebook pictures have been used to train and create basically this company called Clearview AI that is backed by Peter Thiel, just like Facebook was backed by Peter Thiel, and he's the Palantir guy, remember? And yeah, so they have your faces even if you didn't upload the pictures. Like they can identify other people that don't have Facebook accounts that are just in other people's Facebook pictures.
What's the
And
purpose?
if you like consider what's coming now with like Apple Vision Pro and all these VR headsets, which have like how many cameras in them?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
You
there's
know?
like 18 or
It's-
some shit.
Yeah, that's not just about like getting the biometrics of the person wearing that stuff. They're collecting all of that data with those fancy cameras off of everyone they walk past on the street and like interact with, you know?
Yeah, they had
So,
a
like-
Homer with like the Ring cameras and stuff because we're in Philly and it's on like every single front step is a camera every 5 feet.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
wild.
China. Like it's the same thing, but like everyone actually buys the security cameras and puts it up for the government.
Yeah, it's called plausible deniability. That way they don't, the military's not doing it. They just get
Genius.
one of their boys. But I think the guys that started all this shit were like old, like the PNAC crew, like the Rand Corporation
Yeah.
guys.
Mhm.
So like they are the military.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same like deep state responsible for that people, are mad about running the country, but they willingly like
Yeah, they'll get on
use
Musk's
their
dick.
products and like, have them surveil their home and give them all their data.
That's
that they
why it's
openly
like
wanna use
Elon's
for,
like
pre-crime stuff.
Elon's like, I got Twitter. Say whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Trap. Are you not?
Yeah,
Are you
can we
not
talk
big on
about
Musk?
that for a second? Because that shit is like, this is the ultimate honeypot.
Whatever you want to talk
Preach.
about. Whatever you want to talk. Digital honeypots. You want to talk about that?
I mean, yeah, because I think it's kind of important. You know what I mean? Like this whole thing of like, oh, you're free to say whatever you want here. I mean, they tried that shit with what was it called? Like Parler or whatever. And then January 6th happens.
Dude, they had a
and
thing
they're
called
like, they hand
Yak.
over all the data.
They had a thing called Yak before that when I was in college, and it was an anonymous thing that was local, and you could say whatever the fuck you want anonymously.
Yeah.
And people were just like telling on drug dealers down the street. It was like kind of nuts, but yeah, it is fucking weird. Sorry, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
a digital
go-
honeypot.
No.
Go
it's
on
all
about
good.
Elon because I keep telling Bill like I read like the new Elon book like biography or whatever the guy put out, and
Simp.
I want to do a podcast on Elon because him and Kimball are hilarious. Like, and Kimball is Eskimo Bros with Epstein, by the way.
Yeah, that's weird.
Down in but anyway, also Trump and Epstein Eskimo Bros. Did not know that.
Who?
This chick Selena Middlefart, hilarious
Dude,
name.
I feel like you guys are making up last names.
Unless Whitney made it up,
No,
it's in her
not
book.
though. That's actually her last name.
Poindexter, Cockburn, and Middlefart.
I thought Poindexter was kind of a slam, like, because that's like a nerd.
Yeah.
But it's from Felix the Cat. It's way before that dude was.
Okay, I'll let it slide.
Anyway, go on about Elon.
Yeah, well, it's really just about the honeypot thing in general. So I think there's this whole effort, this war on domestic terrorism we've heard a lot about, but not a lot has happened there yet. And it's all based on like, social media posts and things like that and like thought crime and all of this stuff. And they're like setting up the infrastructure for that. But a lot of people, a lot of the platforms that those particular people are being pushed to use are funded by the same people setting all this shit up.
Yeah.
So like, let's take Rumble, for example. Like Rumble's a big like Peter Thiel funded thing, but Peter Thiel is the guy creating Palantir, which is being used by all the intelligence agencies to profile people based on their data. Like they decide if you're a subversive or not. Like they openly use that label, and they've openly been doing like pre-crime stuff, which they call predictive policing for like years and years and years. And they're being used for like openly for the war on domestic terror stuff.
So when like a thing feels just right for me, and
Yeah.
it's like they created the app for me to go on, it's probably not real, or it's probably a
not
honeypot.
real. Yeah, well, they're saying like, oh, this is an open square, like this is free speech, but like, what is Elon doing at Twitter? Why he's saying all of that? Well, first of all, it's not actually free speech because he and Linda Yaccarino play good cop, bad cop all the time, and she's like, freedom of speech, not freedom of reach, and he's like, I'm woke and based and red pilled.
Yeah.
And people are
I
like,
hate
oh,
the
yeah,
ADL.
okay. Yeah, we'll keep trusting Elon a little bit longer.
And
you
his
know, while
ID
he's staying in the
verification.
pot.
Yeah, his ID verification system is like an Israeli company that like wants your
It
license.
is. Exactly. And he's been pushing ever since he bought it to turn it into what he called, basically openly saying he wants to turn it into an American equivalent of WeChat,
Yeah.
which is complicated for its own reasons. But aside from that, he's been saying, verify all humans. And he says it's about eliminating the bot problem, which I guarantee you it's not. But verify all humans is about linking a government issued ID to your social media account. And this has been promoted by people like Jordan Peterson, Nikki Haley, like all these like people in
All the cool
conservative
kids.
land on both sides of, whether it's neocon or MAGA, like there's people in all those spheres that have been pushing for this lately. And Elon Musk is one of them. And it's it's for this broader agenda to criminalize speech, because they probably already know who you are, even if you have like an anonymous account on Twitter or whatever. But the problem is once you link your government issued ID to it, like they can prosecute you for it if they want.
So they're like
it opens
I mean,
opens
dude,
the
he's-
legal window for that.
He's all about free speech except for his papa and his dad's podcast.
yeah. Have you ever seen his dad's podcast?
No, I don't know if I want to.
It's like Father of a Genius or something. Yeah.
He told his dad to stop doing his podcast or he doesn't get any more money.
His dad's like saying he's a
Wow.
complete liar, absolute bitch.
He gets on Twitter, keeps commenting on Elon's post, limp dick.
Okay, I didn't know that. They're definitely a really messed up family. Like Elon's mom is like totally insane. also.
Oh,
on
yeah.
some,
But
like,
I think even
satanic
creepier
shit.
than the dad, honestly.
The Haldeman's, they're weirdos, dude.
Yeah, I don't.
It really does
Yeah.
sound like a Robert Heinlein book, like his background. That's why I'm like, dude, something's up, because this dude just living out like a weird, out in the open fantasy. Like, I was just a 12-year-old. I made video games. It's like, that was probably cool, man.
Do you know anything about the Edge group, or what is it called?
Totally.
Yeah, obviously
Yeah, I
she
wnot
knows
about
about
it in
Edge,
the book.
dude.
Yeah,
Obviously,
absolutely.
I'm not
'Cause
much of
the
a
guy that,
reader.
like,
Sorry.
That's all
No,
that's
it's
like
all good.
Stanford. Edge is like a lot of Stanford people.
Yeah, well, Stanford has a lot of overlap with PayPal Mafia too, and I mean, in Silicon Valley in general. But the Edge Foundation, is basically the baby of John Brockman, who was like the science publisher and one of those guys that like sort of made various academic scientists like celebrities, Steven Pinker and guys like that by like getting their books out. And,
Did you ever see the documentary The Net? I think it's called, about the Unabomber. Yeah.
No.
They starts out with John Brockman like getting interviewed. And it's from like the early 2000s. It's really weird.
Yeah, I tried to note in the book that Brockman is like obviously a spooky guy and like doing some weird stuff as early as the 90s, early 90s, and he teams up with Epstein sometime in like, I don't know, I think it's like roughly 1995 or so is when they start orbiting each other, and eventually Epstein becomes like the main donor to Edge, some years the only donor,
Yeah.
and he is basically the money behind their annual billionaires dinner where you have like all the Silicon Valley bigwigs and a lot of very influential and very wealthy people coming together to just talk about science.
Yeah, it's
and
cool.
how smart they
Did you
are
did you
to
see
each
the
other.
did you see the long clock they're making? That dude, there's a dude, Danny Hillis from the
Danny
Thinking
Hillis,
Machines.
who's very close with Epstein.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's making
he
the
used to run this
longest-
supercomputer company called Thinking Machines.
Yeah.
That was very tied up with DARPA and very spooky. Eric Lander came out of there, who's like the creepy eugenicist guy that Biden put in charge of all science policy, and then got fired for sexual harassment or something like that.
Yeah, he's like
he
a
came out of Thinking
eugenicist, yeah.
Machines. And a lot of other guys did too, but Danny Hillis is interesting, yeah, because he teams up with Nathan Myhrvold, who's like former chief technology officer of Microsoft with Bill Gates, who was like very close to Epstein in the late 90s, and like Epstein was accompanying him on like big Microsoft business trips.
Bezos
Yeah,
gave him
Microsoft Russia and stuff. Mhm.
Bezos gave Danny Hillis $42 million to build a giant clock with Brian Eno. It makes no sense.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, but what's weird is that all these guys have like Epstein and Maxwell as like underlying like common denominators. Like Jeff Bezos, super cozy with Ghislaine Maxwell, hung out with Epstein. Epstein on the night of the 2016 election was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia with Jeff Bezos. No one really seems to like
Think
For
about
real?
that.
think
Yeah.
about that one very
Crazy.
much.
Why was any thoughts on why that
No
was going
idea
on?
what they were doing, but that's supposedly around the time when Jeff
Grabbing massages?
Bezos' WhatsApp was hacked. If you guys remember
Oh,
that,
yeah,
and it,
yeah.
broke apart his marriage and stuff. Was Epstein involved with that? I don't know. It was Israeli
Damn.
spyware that did it.
Only
so.
hear it here.
Damn, and they blamed that on the Saudi prince or whatever, right?
Yeah, who, if you remember, and a lot of people have forgotten, but when Epstein was arrested in 2019, there were a bunch of stories about how Epstein's house was littered of pictures of him and Mohammed bin Salman.
Do you
All
think
over the
that there is
place.
anything weird about how, like, I don't know how to put this into words, but like the young Khashoggi got killed and it had something to do with like
Yes.
Pegasus, but then his uncle,
Yeah,
can you,
Adnan Khashoggi.
do you understand
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do understand what you're
God, you're
trying
so
to
smart.
say. Yeah, so let me try and unpack what I think. Because I mean, remember how I said I didn't really, beyond volume 2, I didn't really get to go into Epstein's stuff beyond 2000, and there's like a lot more there.
Yeah.
So this is part of it. So Jamal Khashoggi, who's the guy that was allegedly killed in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, or maybe it was another Turkish city in Turkey anyway.
Doesn't matter.
His uncle was Adnan Khashoggi, who was a big time weapons dealer guy tied up with like the money networks that involved the Bush family, for example, tied up with the same, Iran-Contra crowd. He was on the Mossad payroll, CIA payroll, tons of intelligence agency payrolls, honestly. I think French intelligence as well, just like probably like 5 or 6 agency payrolls like at a given time, and had like a yacht that Trump bought later.
Yeah,
that
Trump
was,
bought his yacht,
He used
dude.
it for sex blackmail and all the stuff.
Trump did?
Dude,
Trump
don't.
bought the yacht after Khashoggi had it. I mean, there's no proof necessarily that he used it for the same purpose as Khashoggi did, but Khashoggi
Yeah.
was like known to engage in sex blackmail stuff too, because I mean, people assume because of the whole Epstein thing that like sex blackmail must just be like an intelligence agency thing, or no. The intelligence agencies got all these tactics from like the mob, because they teamed up with the mob.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
during World War II, like openly. And so they just basically were like, well, this shit works. So let's just use it. And so there's all these private enterprises that do it too.
I had a heavy microdose the one day I was reading. There's this chapter called Roy Cohn's Favor Bank, and like, dude, by the time I was done, I was like, my heart was pounding. Just because it's too wild. Like, dude, he had this hotel in New York, and he had like these suites where he was just blackmailing fucking everybody, just having parties with all these youngsters.
This is Donald Trump's mentor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roy Cohn.
And Roy Cohn is like pulling all these strings. He's friends with like William H. Buckley, Barbara Walters. Like, he thinks he's the man. All these dudes think they're the man for a while, but then bottom drops out.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, Roy Cohn was the bridge between the legitimate world and the illegitimate world of like organized crime. You know, he's like a lawyer for all these mob bosses, but he's also like hanging out at the White House with Ronald Reagan
Right.
and stuff.
Anyway,
You know,
get back to
he's-
Khashoggi. Sorry, I derailed that.
No, it's all good. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, it's a 1,000-page book, you know, so it happens. Don't worry. But basically, yeah. So the Khashoggi guy Jamal Khashoggi was part of this family that was like very, very much connected to intelligence. Jamal Khashoggi himself was embedded with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, which of course was CIA financed through Operation Cyclone, which started under Carter, continued through Reagan, and I believe Bush Sr. as well, and is where Al-Qaeda came out of, right? So Jamal Khashoggi's embedded with them, along with some other spooky people at the time, but that's how his journalist career started, right? And he's writing for the Washington Post. I think at the time Jeff Bezos had bought the Washington Post as well.
Yep.
Yes. But there's more but basically the Khashoggi thing happened at a time, basically the end result of it was that Mohammed bin Salman went from being media darling to like completely isolated and basically like a Kim Jong-un, you know?
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that was the end result at the end of the day, right? So why would they want to like bring MBS down a peg? I think it's because if you think about how Mohammed bin Salman came to power, it was very uncharacteristic. Saudi princes, or Saudi crown princes, are very rarely as young as Mohammed bin Salman was. They're usually old dudes. It's not like it's a monarchy, right? But it's not like a father to son monarchy like most people think about in the West, or like it used to be maybe in medieval times in the West and things like that. Instead, it's like a more seniority thing. It's like passed around like the uncles.
Right.
And it's like a seniority thing, not necessarily like a genetic, father-son thing. So the guy that had been crown prince before Mohammed bin Salman is this guy named Mohammed bin Nayef, who was very close to CIA director John Brennan. Very close.
Scumbag.
I mean, John Brennan, before he was CIA director, was station chief for the CIA in Saudi Arabia. So he'd basically set up the existing power structure of Saudi Arabia, and then
Brennan,
whoever
dude.
brought MBS to power tears all of that down, and MBS was like hanging his rivals upside down in the Ritz-Carlton, like literally like torturing them and shaking them down for money. I don't know if you guys remember that.
No.
Yeah, but it was called like the Purge or something. Like all this weird shit was going on when
Now,
MBS came to power.
Do you think there's anything? This is like completely
This is just
off
crazy.
the rails, but do you think there was anything weird that went on with Las Vegas and like all that, like the theories that there were like Saudi princes above that dude, or is that?
I've heard that. I've heard theories involving like Saudi princes and Sheldon Adelson and stuff like that. I mean, obviously Las Vegas is like mob city numero uno, you know what I mean? So like, I'm sure there was a lot of shady stuff that went on there, and obviously it wasn't properly investigated. I have not done my own investigation of that, though I know that there was
It's a little goofy for you.
There's still like, I know they're still blocking like documents and like data about what happened at the Las Vegas shooting, like in terms of like helicopter stuff and whatever. Like they still like won't release that, so that's obviously sus.
So,
but I can't really comment beyond that.
No problem. The Khashoggi thing, like, does anyone know, or like, what is your theory for why he got killed?
To knock bin Salman
So-
down a peg.
I think this is part of a broader war that also doesn't just include the Jamal Khashoggi thing. It also includes Epstein being arrested the second time, because I think Epstein was one of the figures responsible for the rise of Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. And so if you are Epstein and you take out John Brennan's top golden boy in Saudi Arabia, John Brennan is going to effing hate you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Especially if you're affiliated with a different power faction at the time, which Epstein was. Definitely not part of the Brennan orbit at that point in time. I think Epstein vacillated between those factions a few times in his career, but at least at this point, he was in a different one, definitely closer to the Israeli side of things. And I think Mohammed bin Salman was definitely part of an Israeli effort to normalize economic relations, specifically with the Gulf states, which happened in a huge way under Trump. And one of the main point men for that was Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner, known to be texting MBS all the time, their best buddies. Adam Newman, the grifty WeWork guy. Mohammed bin Salman and Kushner were trying to solve Middle East conflict. I don't know if you guys remember.
We have the Kushners
that's
here.
The World Peace Team guy.
The Kushner's building a giant building down here in Philly. It's called the Noble, which is hilarious. That's what he named it. But did you see that thing that he's building in one of the Gulf states? It's like the city that's just a straight line.
Yeah, it's like one rail that goes all the way through the desert.
Yeah, I think it's called The Line, literally.
Yeah.
They were going to make the city called Neom in Saudi Arabia, and it seems like they decided not to do that, and they're doing this line city. But it's all to like MBS came to power, right? And his main thing was Vision 2030, which is basically like sustainable goals on overdrive type of stuff, like post-oil Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? So that means like fourth industrial revolution, Webb 3 Saudi Arabia, basically smart city Saudi Arabia. And I think Epstein was one of the masterminds of that, because one of the first things they did when MBS announced Vision 2030 was he gave this robot citizenship. Sophia the robot.
That's hilarious.
And that robot is made by Hansen Robotics. The chief science, like the guy that made that, it's John Hansen and Ben Goertzel, and that's Epstein territory.
They do
like Ben Goertzel is like Epstein's top science guy, one of them.
What are your thoughts on clones?
On clones? I mean, I don't know.
We brought up the Nick Bryan. He was like, it's not that hard.
Weird shit that happens.
Dude, I just watched King of Clones on Netflix. It's crazy, dude. And Epstein was talking about who's that one dude that was collecting eggs? He was creeping on those black chicks. Remember that?
Fuck, what's that guy's name?
Nygaard, Peter Nygaard.
Peter Nygaard, yeah. Dude's a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
there was a lot of really weird stuff happening with that, and I honestly still don't know what to make of it. But really quick, to wrap up the thought I think there was faction competition between the John Brennan crowd and whatever crowd Epstein was in, which seems to be like whatever crowd Jared Kushner was in, which is probably the Netanyahu crowd, you know?
Right.
And so you're having those guys fight for
I don't trust that guy,
Saudi
Netanyahu.
Arabia and stuff. So anyway, I think that's part of the Khashoggi thing was part of that struggle between those factions, along with the whole Jeff Bezos blackmailing, leaking of his personal stuff, wrecking his marriage, all that stuff. Just a lot of weird things going on. And I think Epstein's arrest was probably part of that, because there's no way he was arrested for sex trafficking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They already knew all that stuff. It was covered up. They brought it back for some reason and some other reason. And it was probably related to either geopolitical or financial stuff.
It's crazy when you think about like how the big movements that they would do, like coups and shit.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing that like got me into this was like 2016, like kind of when Trump was coming in, when all that shit went down with like WikiLeaks and Seth Rich and all that stuff. Like that is the stuff that like
that guy just got locked up for 40 years.
Who?
The guy from Vault 7.
For real?
Yep.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Well, first of all, yeah, that guy, Josh Schultz, he denies he was the Vault 7 leaker, and the government doesn't actually have that much evidence that he was. Like, it's all very circumstantial, and it's mainly about, like, him having been on bad terms with the people he worked at the CIA and then leaving. It doesn't really tie him to the stuff. He was just the fall guy they chose for it because they wanted to make an example of somebody. They don't really know who gave it to WikiLeaks. Also, a couple other things about Vault 7. Vault 7, whenever you hear in the next year or so, there's some big cyber attack.
Is this a prediction?
Increasingly likely. No, but Vault 7 shows that they can blame any country they want, because the CIA has these tools where they can conduct a cyber attack but put in the fingerprints of any nation state.
Right.
And then it looks like it's them. So that's very important to keep in mind from Vault 7, like one of the most consequential things about it. And the other thing I want to say is that Trump said, I love WikiLeaks when he was campaigning.
Yes.
And benefited from them. And then he's the reason that Julian Assange is rotting away in a Britain prison.
Yeah, they were trying to kill him.
For real?
Yeah, they had like an assassination attempt, like a
Trump
plan.
is one of these guys that has certain rhetoric when he's on the campaign trail, but he works for the deep state when he's in office.
Him and Epstein had
that's
a
what he did
calendar
last
girl
time.
competition, dude.
Not
It
gonna
hurts,
lie.
bro.
Not gonna lie. It got me on the first run. But this
Yeah,
time,
I
I'm not
mean-
voting for fucking anyone, dude. I swear to God.
I mean, yeah, because the thing is, if people want to like hope that Trump is different this time, you can't put all your eggs in that basket. It's very unlikely. And people have forgotten a lot of what happened during the Trump administration. This is a guy that put in John Bolton as national security advisor, the craziest war hawk ever. People say Trump didn't start any new wars. Well, he tried to. They assassinated Qasem Soleimani, one of the top Iranian generals, to try and instigate a war with Iran.
With dogs.
They tried to coup Venezuela, which would have created a huge crisis in Latin America, which already like has a huge issue with like mainly Venezuelan immigrants. So you start a war or coup in Venezuela, you're going to get like even more and destabilize the whole region.
And warp
tried
speed.
to do all that
warp
stuff.
speed. I mean, warp speed hurt.
Yeah, warp speed's where I got
Operation
off
Warp
the
Speed,
train.
absolutely. And you had people that were like against the vaccine, but trying to also be pro-Trump, like Alex Jones, who were like, "Oh, the vaccine's sugar water because Trump is making it." No, dude.
Yeah.
So people need to be very like wary, like remember what happened, because our attention span, because of just how media set up today, is like mosquito
like
size.
Alex
You know
Jones
what
says,
I
we have
mean?
goldfish brains.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean, I just get really frustrated with him because I feel like that is why he's still successful.
He's showing his ass right now
I
with
know,
all that
yeah.
stuff with Twitter. Like he's sucking Elon Musk's dick, and he's like,
It's
"Oh, dude,
disgusting.
Yeah,
I mean, because Alex Jones was someone who was like very against transhumanism and all this stuff, and now he's like sucking the D of brain chip, dude. Like, come on.
That's what I get sucked in because I have hope and I'm like, no, the good guys are gonna win. And then like,
that's all we got."
remember when I was like, dude,
Yeah,
maybe it's
well, the
RFK
good
Jr.
guys
and he's
can
like,
win, but we have to remember that the little people that aren't being pushed in front of us are the good guys. All of these other dudes are like manufactured heroes and celebrities.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's
like
weird.
that Albert Pike guy being like, every time the people want a hero, we will supply them. It's like
Yes.
that kind of shit, you know?
It is weird, like out of nowhere, like they had him like bodied, and it's all that money from the Sandy Hook shit. Out of nowhere, Tucker Carlson's like, I'm gonna leave Fox and I'm gonna have Alex Jones on, get him reinstated. It's like they're gearing up for something that's gonna happen around the election.
Yeah, well, they are trying to make people think once again that Trump is the guy that's going to take down the quote unquote deep state.
It'd be
And
so
even
cool
if
he
Trump
did.
were to do that or try or had the intention of doing that, in my opinion, there's no way one dude in the White House can do that.
Yeah, right.
Because people
It's
don't
just too
understand what
big.
the deep state is, and I think that's intentional. And I think a lot of people in quote unquote independent media have misled people about what the deep state is. If you ask the average American or average Trump supporter to define the deep state, they'll be like, Nancy Pelosi, you know, or they'll just be like, everyone bad in the government
Yeah.
is the deep state. And basically what the deep state is supposed to mean is it's supposed to be the bureaucracy that doesn't change regardless of who's put in power and elected. So if you think of, you know, appointees of that the executive branch makes, like the president, you know, and you look at the intelligence community, okay, they pick CIA director, they pick the director of national intelligence. That's like 2 employees out of a workforce of thousands and thousands of people. It's 18 intelligence agencies. So how much really changes when one president comes in?
well, I
And
definitely,
if you look at history,
I think we definitely know more now than when I was younger, man. Like I remember older guys at work being like, trying to tell me, like, dude, you know, like Clinton, he pardoned Mark Rich, and I was like, I don't know who the fuck that is, dude. You know what I mean? Like people knew
Well,
about
now
that.
you do.
Yeah. People know about the pardons. Like the weird pardons they do is like another. Like Trump pardoned a dude. He was in the
pardoned Michael Milken, the Drexel Burnham Lambert junk bond king guy that's like been rehabilitated under COVID and like hosts Anthony Fauci roundtables and stuff.
What?
And is like, I care about your health, but I totally fucked the economy in the late 80s and stole lots of money.
An
from
absolute
everyone.
redemption story.
The president's just like I don't know how much power they actually have, but the president's just like he's a front man.
It's
you know
a
what I mean?
figurehead,
Yeah.
honestly. And we're made to think that as long as we get the right person in the office of the presidency, it's going to fix everything. That's not how this stuff works. You know, I mean, that's a pipe dream. But anyway, I don't think Trump can deliver on that because of how he was the first time. And we should definitely look just as much at a politician's actions than as their rhetoric, if not more so their actions and their rhetoric. So, for example, Trump comes into office the first time, he makes this strategy and policy forum, I think it was called, of basically the people that are going to like, you know, develop the North Star policies of his administration. It's Larry Fink. It's Jamie Dimon. It's like all those guys.
They're
Oh,
busy,
yeah,
they're busy in the
BlackRock.
Ukraine right now.
BlackRock is that's spooking me out once I found out about the British East India Company, and then thinking like this is just the modern day of that.
That's pretty fair. And, you know, Trump, when COVID started, who did he call right away to ask him what to do in times of crisis? He called Larry Fink. If that's going to be your go-to guy when shit hits the fan, that's a problem because what Larry Fink thinks of when there is a crisis is how can I profit from this crisis and have BlackRock buy